Matos Masei Bein Hametzarim, big week, Shabbos Chazak. As we all know, we seem to mention every year when we hit Shabbos Chazak during the 3 weeks, I like to mention that the next Chazak will be Simchas Torah. So for those of you who thought we just passed Rosh Hashanah, Chanukah, Purim, before you turn around another couple of weeks, Rosh Chodesh Elul, and then the next Chazak will be already on Simchas Torah. So as is our minhag, pretty much over the past 7 years, this year being our 8th summer that we're doing the Shiurim on Bein Hametzarim, unfortunately, hopefully we'll be able to give a happy shiur still before Tisha B'Av this year. But during the 3 weeks, we try as much as we can to speak about the Bein Hametzarim. And there's a very, very good reason why we try to speak about it, and we try to bring the idea of Tisha B'Av, the idea of the 3 weeks, to the forefront. Chazal tell us that shoyalin v'dorshin d'hilchas hamoyed, that when it comes to a Yom Tov, when it comes to an occasion, when it comes to a time of the year, Chazal tell us, don't be caught unprepared. Shoyalin v'dorshin d'hilchas hamoyed, that when it comes time, when we come to the occasion, let's make sure that we're prepared. During each and every special time of the year, we need to contemplate different things. We need to contemplate, prepare ourselves, and we need to understand what we can gain and take out of that time of the year. And really now that we are during the Bein Hametzarim, we need to look at this time of the year of the Bein Hametzarim and Tisha B'Av. We really have to look at it in that way. We have to look at it that we don't want Tisha B'Av to come and once again, maybe we'll give a little thought for a half a minute. Oh, Beis Hamikdash, maybe my stomach is grumbling a little bit on Tisha B'Av. I'm a little hungry. But once we pass that and you start only a couple more hours to the fast, you start to look at the clock and then it's off to Bein Hazmanim. And we basically missed the train. We missed the opportunity to be Tzipisa Yeshua. We missed the opportunity to think about the Beis Hamikdash. So really, what is the tafkid of these days from now until Tisha B'Av? And Nesivos Shalom tells us a very interesting thing. And he says that as Klal Yisrael, we do not commemorate the past. That's not what we do. We don't have commemorations for something, an event that was many years ago. What do we commemorate? As Klal Yisrael, we only commemorate if it's going to teach us something new. What could we learn for now from something that happened in the past? But just stop to have a commemoration, to have a day that recalls, that remembers something that happened many years ago, Klal Yisrael does not do that. And the Pasuk tells us in Tehillim, a Pasuk that we are all very, very familiar with. The Pasuk tells us, Im eshkachech Yerushalayim, if I'm going to forget Yerushalayim, tishkachini, very, very strong lashon, that it's impossible for a person, it should be impossible for a person ever to forget about Yerushalayim. And what is David HaMelech telling us? David HaMelech is telling us in the Nevuah that down the line, when we're not going to have Yerushalayim, we're saying that Yerushalayim is something that is always alive for us. We're not commemorating something that was and something that's dead right now. Yerushalayim is something that is extremely alive every minute that we exist. It's not just something that we are sad about, something that we happen to have had almost 2,000 years ago. And the Nesivos Shalom tells us that the Avelus for the Beis Hamikdash means that we do not come to terms with the destruction of the Beis Hamikdash. Not even for a moment. And we're waiting and we're hoping every moment that the Beis Hamikdash will be rebuilt. We're awaiting the rebuilding of the Beis Hamikdash. We never come to terms with the fact, we've said over many times from the Kabrina Rav, Zechus Yagan Aleinu, And he says, in many, many different ways in life, not just in the Chorban Beis HaMikdash, in many, many different things in life, that the worst thing for a person to be is complacent. To say, you know what, I give up, I'm coming to terms with my matzah. So I'm only able to learn this way, I'm only able to behave this way, I'm only able to accomplish this. I tried for so long, now I feel that I'm going to throw in the towel. I got to come to terms with it. How long can I aggravate myself with something? Zokta Kabrina, that's the worst thing. When a person hits that matzah, you hit a place where I'm just going to come to terms with it, then you know that it's really, really not good. We never give up and say, I'm just going to get used to the way it is. And that's the worst thing. If a person says, I'm going to make my life work without the Beis HaMikdash, it's almost 2,000 years. How long can I already be upset about this? I'm going to come to terms with it. I'm going to find different ways to be Oved Hashem without a Beis HaMikdash. Then you know that we're in trouble. Because we daven 3 times a day. And we say, V'lirushalayim yerecha b'rachamim tashuv. The Nesivos Shalom says, you know, those can't be empty words. It has to be an earnest and an honest hope that no, V'yushalayim yerecha b'rachamim tashuv. Right now, we woke up this morning, we did not bring a carbon tamid. We did not do all the things that we would do if we had the Beis HaMikdash. Especially when it comes to Yom Tif, and we say in the Shmoneh Esrei Yom Tif, we ask, Avinu Malkeinu, Galei Kevoi Malchuscha, Melech Rachamon, Shetoshuvus Rachem Aleinu, we're asking HaKadosh Baruch Hu, bring us back, we want to come back, we want to bring those times back. So we have to know that we can't forget. We can't come to terms with the fact, which is unfortunately is the way things have become, who thinks about all the time that we're really, really missing something. The Nesivos Shalom brings from the Birkas Avraham that many, many times, and this is you have to think a little deeply about this, many, many times, the longing and the yearning for something can be more than the actual thing itself. And he says that this plays out with the Chorban and the Binyan Beis HaMikdash in a very, very big way. And he says like this, he says a person has to know that the beginning building blocks of the Beis HaMikdash, you know where they come from. The foundation of the Beis HaMikdash is going to come from the yearning and the wanting and the longing that we have for the Beis HaMikdash. That's where it's going to come from. That is going to be the foundation. And especially if we think about it, during these 3 weeks where it's more apropos and it's right in front of us, how much more so do we have an opportunity to take a brick and put it down for the foundation of the Beis HaMikdash? The tzipisa Yeshua, the waiting and the longing for it, it's not just a longing for a Beis HaMikdash that was. No, we are actually building the Beis HaMikdash with our tzipisa Yeshua. We're actually building it. Those are the building blocks. The thirst for Mashiach and the thirst for the Beis HaMikdash, that is how we're going to begin the building. And it is told that the philosopher Apalton was his name. And he saw Yirmiyahu Hanavi after the Chorban. And he went over to Yirmiyahu Hanavi. And he saw Yirmiyahu was crying. He was lamenting the Chorban of the Bayis. And he went over to Yirmiyahu and he knew him. And he said, Yirmiyahu Hanavi, why would such an intelligent person, why would somebody who is so smart like you are, Yirmiyahu, why would you mourn over the Beis HaMikdash? Why are you mourning over something which is now in the past? The Beis HaMikdash was burnt down. It was destroyed. Why are you crying like we would say today, you're crying over spilled milk? A very intelligent person doesn't cry over something which is not here anymore. Yirmiyahu, why are you crying? Yirmiyahu Hanavi answered Apalton and he told him, there's a very, very good answer for this. But you know what? I can't give you the answer because you would never understand the answer to that question. Says in the Nesivos Shalom, what's the explanation to Yirmiyahu Hanavi's answer to the philosopher? And he says like this, a Yid needs to understand what Avelus means to us. Avelus, like we said, means the longing for something so desperately. for something that we want. David HaMelech says, Tzom alecha nafshi, kom alecha v'sari. David HaMelech was far away from Yerushalayim. He was in Midbar Yehuda, which is not too far, but it's away. He's away from Yerushalayim. And David HaMelech is longing. Tzom alecha nafshi. I don't have it. I'm not there right now. But that's what my longing is for. It's for something that I don't have. The type of longing for something that we want and we need and we are really missing. But that is a different type of avelus than just crying over something that happened to us in the past. And really, Yirmiyahu Hanavi was saying that only a Jew, only a Yid, could comprehend that type of yearning. A Platon, the philosopher, would never understand that we don't cry about something that passed. We're not crying because we had a Beis HaMikdash. We're crying because we need a Beis HaMikdash today. We're looking forward to it. We're yearning for it. That's what we want. And that is what Yirmiyahu Hanavi was telling the philosopher. The Torah tells us in Parsha Shemois, a very interesting read on the pasuk in the Nesivos Shalom says. The pasuk says that Basia Bas Paroi, she saw Moshe Rabbeinu floating in the water, and she said the following: Vatireu, she saw Moshe Rabbeinu, v'hine nar boiche. She saw a young child was in the water and was crying. Vatoimer, she said right away, miyaldei ho'ivrim zeh. She saw a child crying, and she said, this has to be a Jew. What's going on over here? You could tell from the crying of a baby. She saw a baby crying, and that's a Jew. Says in Nesivos Shalom, that's exactly what she saw. Basia saw, and Moshe Rabbeinu, she saw the type of crying that was going on. He wasn't crying because he didn't have his last meal. He wasn't crying because he wanted more milk. He wasn't crying because he was hot, because he was cold, because of something that was happening before. Moshe Rabbeinu was crying the crying that only a Yid could cry. Will we long for something? Will we want something? And we need it so desperately. He wasn't crying out of resignation. He was crying because he wants something. And that is supposed to be our crying for the Churban. The crying for the Churban is a crying of, we can't live another minute without the Beis HaMikdash. We're not crying over something that passed. And when it comes to these 3 weeks, it comes now, we have another week and a half or so to Tisha B'Av. And that's if Tisha B'Av is going to be a fast. We have to be ready for it. HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants to see, what, you're just going to float through? What's going to be the most traumatic thing that happens to you? You can't have a hot dog, you can't have a steak. And you're going to make up for it on Shabbos. You're going to eat 5 pieces of meat on Shabbos because you're not going to have, and we're going to make a siyum every night in one way or the other. You're going to have a barbecue siyum right next to the pool, but we won't go in the pool. That's longing for the Churban. That's not longing for the Churban. Longing for the Churban Beis HaMikdash means that we can't take it another minute. And that is the cry of a Yid. And that's something we have to think about. This Shabbos, Shabbos Chazak, let's strengthen ourselves also in this inyan. Tzipisa Yeshua. And Taka, we should be Zaycha, Yerushalayim Yercha, V'rachamim Tashuv.